Mr. Chidambaram, who's joining us exclusively right here on ET Now, Senior Congress Leader, the former Finance Minister. Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram. This is Nayantara Rai in New Delhi. You've allowed me 4 questions, so I'm going to ask you all 4 on today's verdict. The first one being, the court has allowed that these documents, which the government alleges were stolen from the Defence Ministry and illegally photocopied, can be part of the review petition that has been filed before the Supreme Court. Sir, why is it that the Congress party is claiming this to be a vindication, claiming this to be a victory, claiming that Chaukidar Chor hai, it is only procedural in nature, is what the Bharatiya Janata Party is saying?
Please remember what the Attorney General told the Supreme Court at the first hearing. So the petition deserves to be dismissed because the petitioners had stolen official documents. Of course, outside the court, he modified his position when he realized the absurdity of that argument. Even yesterday, the government maintained that the documents had been stolen. What is the government trying to protect or hide? And I'm so happy that the court rejected this argument and said these documents can be used and will be taken into account when the review petition is heard. It is therefore a signal victory for all those who want the earlier judgment reviewed. The government tried its best to block a review. It tried to create all kinds of hurdles. It raised preliminary objections. They have been rejected, and now the review will be heard on merits. And that's a very significant development.
Mr. Chidambaram, you were saying that once again we will have the case on merits. Of course, the bench has not explained or told us when that review petition is going to be heard. What I want to understand from you is that with the admission of the new documents that has been allowed unanimously today, can this change the purview of the case? Can more evidence be indeed submitted? I'm asking this on behalf of all the viewers who are not lawyers, who do not understand all of these developments. What is this going to mean for the Rafale case? While the Bharatiya Janata Party says it's not a victory for the Congress, it does not necessarily mean that there's going to be a U-turn of the December verdict.
In my humble view, the December verdict was wrong. The court was misled or misdirected into reaching certain conclusions because the government held back vital facts. If these facts had been before the court, it's possible that the decision would have been different. Even now, it would be wrong to hazard what the decision will be. But at least one thing is clear, that the court is convinced that its earlier decision may be wrong. Let me underline, may be wrong, and therefore requires reconsideration. It's not often that the Supreme Court admits that its decision may be wrong. Whether it will eventually hold that the earlier decision was wrong, and therefore it merits a new decision, I cannot say. It would be inappropriate for anyone instructed in law to hazard such a guess. But I think it's significant that the Supreme Court has allowed the review to be heard on merits, which means there is serious doubt in the minds of the judges that the earlier decision may have been wrong.
Mr. Chidambaram, you know, you're stressing and emphasizing on the word may. I would like to say a lot of your colleagues in the Congress party are not using the word may the way you are. They have already joined all the dots. They've done a 1 + 1 = 3 and are saying Chaukidar Chor hai, the Congress has been vindicated. Why is that the case? Is it also because it is election season?
You forgot my first sentence in the answer to the second question. I said, in my view, the judgment was wrong. I said, in my humble view, the judgment was wrong. When I emphasize the word may, I'm speaking for the judges. The judges have come to the conclusion that the decision may have been wrong. But if you ask my personal opinion, I maintain that the earlier judgment was wrong. So what is the contradiction? There is no contradiction. emphasis on the word may is because the judges have not finally made up their mind. They've allowed the review to proceed on merits. Therefore, the correct interpretation is that the judges feel that the judgment may have been wrong. If I am arguing the case against the government, I will argue the judgment was wrong. The government will argue that the judgment was right, and the court will come to a final conclusion. But at least the door has been opened for a reconsideration.
Mr. Chidambaram, while we are talking right here live on ET Now, the Election Commission has decided to stall the release of the biopic Modi. Remember, the courts had allowed its release, but the Election Commission has decided that it cannot be released. How significant is this, especially at a time when so many allegations are being made against the Election Commission, not just by those in opposition, but we saw more than 60 former bureaucrats also write to the president on the behavior of the Election Commission?
Irrespective of today's decision, I think there is a lot to be desired in the manner in which the Election Commission has been functioning in the last couple of years. If the Election Commission has absorbed some lessons, taken the criticism in the right spirit, and if it has come to a conclusion that the biopic should not be released now, I would compliment the Election Commission. But I don't know what the biopic contains. According to me, the influence or the impact of the biopic may be exaggerated. But if some people felt that the biopic should not be released and petitioned the Election Commission, and the Election Commission has accepted their argument, there must be some merit in that argument, which moved the Election Commission to decide that the biopic should not be released at this stage.
Mr. Chidambaram, before I let you go, I want to just get back to the Supreme Court verdict. You know, it's coming a day before the first ballot is cast in India, the largest election on this planet. Do you think the fact that these documents can now be admitted, the review petition still has to be heard, can it help at all in elections? Can it help swing votes for the Congress party at all?
No one decision, no one idea, no one argument sways an election. Elections are extremely local in this country. Even Lok Sabha elections are very localized elections. That's why the surveys are often wrong. This is not a homogeneous voting population. This decision will make a lot of people think that perhaps there was something wrong in the Rafale deal. I think already about 30-35% suspect that there was something seriously wrong in the Rafale deal. I think this decision will raise that number, I don't know, I'm guessing, to say 40% or 45%. More and more people will come to the conclusion that there's something wrong in the Rafale deal, and that will certainly hurt the BJP and will help those who seriously criticized and questioned the Rafale deal.
Can this also, you think, in your opinion, as a seasoned politician, deal a blow to Team Narendra Modi, whose main election plank so far has rested on national security? Not just the airstrikes, but the fact that this is a government that it says has stood for national security, about the borders and all of that. Can this deal a blow to that entire poll plank?
The Modi government's argument that they've enhanced national security is utter rubbish. The nation was absolutely secure under Dr. Manmohan Singh between 2004 and 2014. There was no war between India and Pakistan. There was not even a war-like situation. The borders were relatively quiet. Infiltration had come down. Casualties had come down in India, both among security forces and among civilians. Ever since Mr. Modi took over, infiltration has increased. The number of infiltrators who actually entered India has increased. The number of casualties among civilians has increased dramatically. The number of casualties among security forces has increased considerably. There is a war-like situation between India and Pakistan, and a number of people living on the border districts, border states have told me that the general feeling is that any time war may break out between India and Pakistan. According to my information, and this has been published in sections of the media, some 30,000 people living in the border areas have been evacuated. Is this enhancing India's security? India's borders have become more vulnerable under Mr. Narendra Modi's government. I think it's an argument that has to be rejected that the Modi government has enhanced security. India's security was far better, far safer under Dr. Manmohan Singh than now.
But then the Modi government always says that nothing happened after 26/11. Would you want to counter that, Mr. Chidambaram, that the UPA never acted after that, whereas the Modi government decided to be decisive?
What is the decisive action they've taken? After 26/11, until 26th of May 2014, there was no terror attack in India that was traced back to a Pakistani group. The 3 terror attacks in India were all by India-made, India-born groups. But in Mr. Modi's government, we had Uri, we had Pathankot, we had Nagrote. Each one of them can be traced back to Pakistani groups, terrorist groups who are sheltered in Pakistan. So after your so-called surgical strike, there has been Pulwama. After your air strike, there is no guarantee that there won't be another attempt on Indian soil. Therefore, the numbers will speak for themselves. And I'm disappointed that the media does not flash the numbers. If you're completely truthful to your viewers, you should flash on your screen a table showing the number of infiltrations, the number of infiltrators who successfully infiltrated into India, the number of casualties among security forces and civilians. Just put up a table showing what was the position, say, in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, and how it has dramatically deteriorated since Mr. Modi came to office. The worst year has been 2018, and I'm afraid the first 3 months of 2019 have been worse than the first 3 months of 2018. Play the numbers, let the viewers draw their own conclusions. Let's not cover up everything with words.